from poultry. Oh. Good thing I stopped on that question because I see where I made a little boo-boo. Oh, great. Oh, I know what I'm thinking. Okay, that's a little confusing, but sometimes I'll ask you for a genus. I want just the genus, just Salmonella. Sometimes I'll ask you for the species. I want Salmonella typhi. Okay? So if I ask for just a genus, then you have choices there. Some are genus names alone, and some are genus and species names. Reread the question. Do I want just the genus, or do I want the species? I want to make sure you know a genus from a species when you see it. Escherichia coli, that's a species. Escherichia, that's a genus. Species is more specific. Right, like I would be saying, like, I want to know how many people here have the last name Brown. 10 people raise their hand. Okay. How many people have the name John Brown? And then you've narrowed it down, you know, same thing. So genus would be the broad name, species more specific. Okay, Rickettsia. Rickettsia and chlamydia have their own section because they're intracellular parasites, which is unusual for bacteria. They're very small bacteria. They have a very thin reduced cell wall, but they're not actually gram-negative. Some sources will say gram-negative. For this test, they're not gram-negative. They have a thin reduced cell wall. They don't really qualify as gram-negative. They're in Division 1, which includes gram-negative bacteria and other thin-walled bacteria. So Rickettsia and chlamydia, thin, reduced cell wall, but not actually gram-negative, and they're obligate intracellular parasites. They must get inside a host cell to replicate. In their replication, they form these little bodies called reticulate bodies. So if you see the term reticulate bodies, you know we're talking about the life cycle of Rickettsia or chlamydia. And the reticulate bodies have to form inside of a host cell. That's what makes them intracellular parasites. Okay. So let's talk about chlamydia. Parrot fever, chlamydia psittaci. STD, trachoma, chlamydia trachoma is the STD chlamydia. Talk about rickettsia. Rickettsial pathogens are actually an important group because a lot of zoonotic diseases are rickettsial pathogens. Carried by ticks, come from wildlife animals. Rickettsia typhi, Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Rickettsia rickettsii, Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Rickettsia typhi, typhus, is another one. And then there's others. So they're transmitted by ticks and lice. They can cause zoonotic diseases. That's what they're most known for usually. Rocky Mountain spotted fever is an example. Typhus is a fever, typhus is an example. So rickettsial pathogens is important for like veterinarians and people who work with animals, or if you have patients who come in and they work with animals, you've got to consider your rickettsial pathogens. They're hard to diagnose, so the case history is really important in cases like that. If you know your people have been camping and hunting and out in the wild and that kind of stuff. Okie dokie. Don't forget your parasitic organism. We had some STDs caused by bacteria. Neisseria gonorrhea, Treponema pallidum, syphilis, chlamydia trachoma, or trachomatis, or chlamydia, whatever you want to call it. Why don't they have a slang name for chlamydia? I don't know. Maybe they do. I told you why they call it gonorrhea, the clap, right? Yeah. And don't forget Trichomonas vaginalis. Is that bacterial?
No.
Remember, that's your flagellated protozoan that causes an STD. There are some other STDs I didn't mention to you yet. One is Haemophilus ducreyi, which causes canker. It's mentioned in the book also. And there's viral STDs also. So, again, if you don't know what the answer is, go to the back door and figure out which one it isn't. That one you should know. Just don't ever forget. Trichomonas vaginalis is going to be on every test. It's a protozoal STD. Okay. Don't forget, protozoa are not prokaryotes. Protozoa are eukaryotes. Okay. Then you're going to get some mismatches. So don't forget, what's the pneumococcus? Pneumonia is caused by streptococcus. Streptococcus pneumoniae. Streptococcus pneumoniae is one of your alpha hemolytic streptococcus. Alpha hemolytic. Remember, the meningococcus is Neisseria meningitis, and the gonococcus is Neisseria gonorrhea. Non-gonococcal would be something other than gonorrhea. Pneumococcal would be strep pneumoniae. Okay. What do you know about spirochetes? They're squiggly shaped. Well, how do they move? They have an axial filament or an endoflagellum. It's called both things. That's how they move. And when they move, what are they trying to do? Why are they shaped like a corkscrew? Yeah, they're going to penetrate tissue. How about spirillum? What does that have for movement? Flagella, right. And so what's it doing with its flagella? Probably swimming through tissue fluids, or maybe swimming through moist environments if it's outdoors in a pond or a puddle or something. Okie dokie. How about syphilis? Do you remember I showed you the pictures of syphilis? And I showed you the little baby, and he was all messed up in the face because when he came through the birth canal, he contracted syphilis from his mother. Or you can even get it in the womb. It can be transferred from the mother to the unborn child, as well as through sexual intercourse. And, okay, you know that one. Okay. Let's talk about E. coli 0157H7. What the hell is all that 0157H7 crap about? Why do I have those numbers and letters on it? I'm trying to identify a particular what? Strain. Not strand, strain. Trying to identify a particular strain of E. coli. And this particular strain of E. coli has O antigens and H antigens. That's what we identify it by. O antigens and H antigens. That's how we identify the strain. That's why I have O and H in my name. So it's got an O antigen number 157, and it's got an H antigen number 7. And what disease does it cause? What happens when your kidney shuts down from the toxins? Yes, HUS, hemolytic uremic syndrome, HUS. Okay. Where does this E. coli 0157H7 come from in the first place? Where does it come from? Okay, and where are the gram-negative bacteria living that they got so strong and developed into this strain? In a cow that was fed a lot of antibiotics. So these E. coli 0157H7 are normal flora for some cattle. It's evolved in these cattle because they've been exposed to so much antibiotic. Okay, let's say we have some hamburger meat, brought it home from the store, throw it on the grill. What can we do to make sure our loved ones don't end up with HUS? Cook it thoroughly, good. So if you cook it thoroughly, you can kill the bacteria, and you can break down any toxin that might already be in meat from cells that have died in there. So cooking usually denatures proteins and endotoxins also. It'll make them, the endotoxins are fatty substances. You can usually destroy it by heating. What can't you destroy by heating? Endospores. Heating ain't gonna help. You're gonna have to autoclave it. Okay? What do we know about Vibrio vulnificus and also Vibrio cholerae? Remember, Vibrio is a curved shape, has flagella at the end, and you know why it has that curved shape? Because water currents push the bacteria, and that helps it move, and it also has flagella to move. Vibrio is thought to come from water, seawater, even water that's brackish. So one of the problems with Vibrio is you can have outbreaks. Along the coast of Brazil, one year they had an outbreak. Sometimes they'll have an outbreak in other parts of the world. They think it originates in the water. It's in every marine environment, Vibrio vulnificus. It just doesn't usually cause problems, but if the conditions are right, the water is warm enough, it's replicating, maybe the water's a little stagnant, then the person goes in the water with an open wound or something. Even something as tiny as you just shaved that morning, when you shaved your legs, or here's the one, you shaved your bikini area. And what happens? You get little nicks in the hair follicle, right? When you shave, you get the, what do they call the bumps that you get? Those bumps are little cuts that you made shaving the hairs, right? And what do? You shave your bikini area because you're going to the beach. And when you go into the water, those are open wounds. Bacteria are so tiny they could get in those wounds. So even a wound as small as like from shaving your face or your legs or your bikini area. But you're usually healthy, strong people. And that's not going to be a problem because your immune system will get all over it. But you never know. So I wouldn't recommend shaving your legs and then going right into the salt water.